Okay, I'm going to go over today how to do the field strip and the detailed strip of my 1911. I'm going to be using my Remington R1 Enhanced model. And the first thing you want to do before you work on any firearm, you want to make sure it's safe and clear. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to remove the feed source. While my barrel is facing in a safe direction, I'm going to remove my magazine. I'm going to lock my slide to the rear and inspect the chamber. I can see that there's nothing in the chamber. Inspect, there's no obstructions. Let my slide go forward. I'm going to lock my 1911 on safe. Now I'm going to go into the basic field strip. I'm going to start by removing my buffer spring. And I want to rotate my bushing. And I meant recoil spring. While holding pressure on it, I'm going to slowly remove my recoil spring plug. That takes the pressure off my 1911. Now I can take it off as safe. I can slide it back very carefully to the disassembly notch. And by pushing on the back side of the slide stop, pushing in this dimple, it raises enough that I can just pull it out and take it off and set it to the side. At this point, I can separate my slide and my lower frame. From here, I want to remove the recoil spring and the recoil spring guide and get it out of my way. Set it off to the side. And as you notice, I lowered the link on my barrel so I can carefully slide it on. Oh, I'm sorry. First thing I want to do is remove my bushing by turning it opposite direction. And then I can pull it all out. And then I can just separate the barrel and bushing. This is the field strip. Now I'm going to go into the detail stripping. So there's a couple ways people do this. I'm going to start by removing my grips. You always want to make sure you have the right size screwdriver when you're removing your grips, so you don't ruin your screws. I apologize for my babies that are running around raising a ruckus. They don't understand that Dad's giving a class, and they're just going to keep going. They're going to drink and they're going to growl and they're going to play with each other. Kind of a normal thing here. And because it's an enhanced model, you see I have batteries in my grips because I have lasers built into my grip. There's my grip. We'll set it off to the side in a safe place. Next, I'm going to remove the safety mechanism. I'm going to take the spring off back here. And of course, can you pause? So I'm back again. I had to get my bench block. Go get me a nice little soft brass hammer. And I'm going to find the right size pin so I can tap this out. Tap, tap, tap. Tappy, tap. There we go. There's my pin. I'm going to set that off to the side. Now I can remove that. Slide this one out where I get back into my spring. Now I'm not going to remove this in here, but if I wanted to, I could knock out this pin and remove all the spring load detent in here. But for now, because I'm not comfortable doing that, we're going to start by breaking down the trigger mechanism. And what I want to do is there's a dimple right here, so I'm just kind of lining it up so I can like push that spring in a bit. Now I want to be careful while I'm doing this because I don't want that pin to go flying. So I just want to knock it out just a bit. Must be a little booger right now. Grandpa always taught me that if it don't work, figure out why. And I think I just figured out why, because I just kind of lining it up there on my bench block, and I was holding it so it wasn't really moving. So let's see. We're going to use our bench block. Oh, looks like everything wants to fall apart. So I'm going to put my spring right here. That took pressure off my hammer. And here comes my safety out. Now I can pull out safety plunger and spring, put it in a safe location. It looks like it wants to stay in there, so we're not going to remove it today. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to remove the hammer. I can start by moving this dovetail and getting it out, which will open up the area for my sear. My sear will come out when I pull out my hammer. Here's my hammer pin. I'm going to keep that together. I can move the hammer. As well as the sear. And the sear mechanism. Now at this point, if I come into this side, if I wanted to remove the magazine ejector, all I have to do is push in here, rotate the screw, and that ejector will line up and it can come straight out. I don't have the screwdriver for that right now. I could cheat and use this right here because this is how we were taught in the Army to do it, but I'm not going to, because I no longer want, now that I'm a smith, I no longer want to use my parts as a tool because I don't think it's a smart way to do things. So this is a detailed strip. I could strip it down right now, but I'm not comfortable doing that. I would rather do that with a little more practice and literature behind it. Pause for a second. Okay, welcome back. So I had to stop for a moment as I have two extra pieces here that most 1911s don't have. I had to do some research, which I couldn't find any, on how or what these are, and so I'm gonna have to go back later and figure it out. But since this is an enhanced version, I'm thinking this has a little bit to do with it, because this goes hand in hand with the hammer, and this piece goes hand in hand with the disconnector and the sear. So I'm gonna go ahead now and I'm gonna go ahead and put this all back together. And luckily, because these parts are so small, I got tweezers to hang on to this stuff because it's really, really tricky. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put the disconnector and the sear back together the way they belong. And I'm going to set them up in their position with the disconnector going right up in his little home right there. You can see where the disconnector comes in and out. And what I'm going to do from here is I'm going to take the pin for it and I'm going to block the sear and the disconnector. With my tweezers, I'm going to line them up, the notches up. Now I want to push the pin all the way through because this little guy right here is going to go in and he's going to work together with this guy right here. First thing I want to do is put it in the right way. And I'm going to line it up just enough that I can get that pin to go all the way through. And I didn't do that. So these pins are real delicate. They're just push right through. They don't have a locking system. Find that little guy. We're going to grab him again. And if you have an R1, the way it goes in is just like this. So you know for future reference. And while hanging on with tweezers, and as you see, the position it's in, it's hanging on there and the pin's all the way through. Now the way it wants to work is it wants to be pushed down like this. So when my hammer's in here and my hammer strut, kind of blocking him. And with the pin for my hammer and hammer strut, I'm going to start the pin going through. While leaving the strut out. Okay, so I went too far with the pin, no big deal, I'll just push it back a bit. And then this one right here is going to go right down there and be held in with that pin. So when the trigger mechanism is working, you see how that little elbow bumps it, and it lifts it up. And like I said, I'm not sure what it does, but that is how it works. So from here, I'm going to grab the mainspring housing again. Actually, I'm going to get this hammer strut out of my way. I'm going to put the mainspring back in. And as you see, there's a notch right here. That is for this little leg. So what I want to do is I want to slide it up until it falls into that notch. And there you see it's in a notch. So when my hammer strut goes down, it's going to be riding on the mainspring. When I take my mainspring support and I feed it on up in there, the strut is going to go down in there, into that mainspring dimple. And that'll hold the mainspring in and everything. Now I want to put back on my beaver tail. And I'm going to take my safety mechanism, it has its own built-in pin. I'm going to slide it on through the beaver tail, holding it in place. And I want to line my safety up so this pin right here goes right up inside there. Now, if you remember, we had this little spring detent. So we're going to have to get that out of the way. So we can help that by pushing the spring in. And working with the safety. And as you see, I got it notched out of the way. All I got to do is play around with it